Chairman Lesniak. Joining us today is my partner in championing equal rights for the LGBT community, Senator Loretta Weinberg, as well as Garden State Equality founder and champion of over 100 LGBT civil rights laws in New Jersey, Stephen Goldstein. Stephen's Garden State Equality Deputy Director, Joan Hervey, who was instrumental in helping rally public support for Laurel Hester's and Stacey Andrews' pension rights. Laurel's police partner, Dane Wells, who stood by Laurel and Stacey during the fight for their pension rights. And Laurel's sister, Linda Hester, who suffered along with Laurel and Stacey during their long ordeal. Also joining us is current Garden State Equality Executive Director, Christian Fuscarino. I started my campaign against Jack Kelly's parole board nomination when he was first nominated last December because he is totally unqualified for the position and because the parole board is bloated to begin with. I subsequently learned Freeholder Kelly has made a career out of being appointed to public positions for which he is not qualified. In 1999, Kelly was given the title of Airport Analyst, a high-paying position at the Atlantic City International Airport. The job called for 5 years of aviation experience and a bachelor's degree. Freeholder Kelly had neither. It was only 2 weeks ago that the thought came to my mind that this could be the same guy who sanctimoniously denied Laurel Hester's request to assign her pension rights to her domestic partner, Stacey Andre. Not only is Jack Kelly unqualified to serve on the New Jersey Parole Board because of his lack of qualifications, he's unqualified because he denied a dying police officer the pension rights she earned while boosting his own pension without merit. Today I am asking Judiciary Chairman Senator Scutari to place Jack Kelly's nomination on the agenda of the next Judiciary Committee meeting and Senate President Sweeney to approve that agenda so we can have an up or down vote on Jack Kelly's nomination. Jack Kelly should not receive any Judiciary Committee votes, Democrat or Republican, in favor of his confirmation to the New Jersey Parole Board. The nomination of Ocean County Freeholder Kelly to bolster his pension with a cushy $120,000 job has opened up sore wounds and brought to the foreground how he tried to end to the end, and we saw it up there on that screen, to deny the pension rights of a police officer who put her life on the line every day to protect him, his family, and his community. Freeholder Kelly tortured a 25-year veteran of the Ocean County Police Department, Laurel Hester, and her domestic partner, Stacey Andre, as Laurel, dying from cancer, tried to assign her pension benefits to her domestic partner. Thanks to the heroic efforts of Stephen Goldstein, Joan Hervey, and Garden State Equality members and supporters, and thanks to the determination of Laurel, Stacey, and Dane, and after a grueling fight, Stacey received Laurel's pension rights. Although 2 movies have been made of their ordeal, its final chapter has not been written. The final chapter will be the rejection of Jack Kelly's nomination to the New Jersey Parole Board by the Senate Judiciary Committee. I now give you our champion here in the legislature for the LGBT community, Senator Loretta Weinberg.
Thank you very much, Senator Lesniak. Thank you to Stephen and Linda and Dane and Joan and Christian who are here. You know, in a way, it's really sad that we needed to see this documentary again to remind us all why we are here. And let me take a little bit of an issue with my colleague, Senator Lesniak. This is not the final chapter in the fight for equal rights. It is just an important chapter as we continue on that road.
It's the final chapter for Jack Kelly. Sorry.
Okay, put the asterisk there, I'll accept that. I did a little research into any requirements to be on the parole board, and I did even more research into the person that Jack Kelly would be replacing on the parole board. A gentleman who is a current member, has 3 master's degrees, including one in social work and one in criminal justice. And they never even gave him a telephone call to tell him he was going to be replaced. He found out by looking online that he is not only going to be replaced, but he's going to be replaced by someone with no background, who in fact wants to sit in a place that will be judging the redemption of his fellow citizens. If there is one of the most wrong places to put Jack Kelly, this is it. I join Senator Lesniak in asking that this does go before the Judiciary Committee so that all of us who are on that committee have a chance to stand up for what is right or not stand up for what is right. And as Ray reminded me, when we made that decision to put up the marriage equality bill for the first time, when we knew we didn't have the votes, but we felt it was time for people to make a stand. Well, this time, I am much more confident that we will have the votes, and we will be together to vote down this horrendous appointment of a bigot who, beside being bigoted, has absolutely no background to serve on this board. So thank you for spearheading this, Raymond, and
Want to introduce the next guy?
the next.
Not that well known in New Jersey, very low-key guy, but a guy who is one of the #1 champions of LGBT rights, not in New Jersey, but in the entire country of the United States of America, Stephen Goldstein.
And beside what he's well known for as a fighter for civil rights, he's also my adopted son, and as he said, he was my easiest birth. Stephen?
Stephen hits on my girlfriend all the time.
Loretta, Raymond, and everyone here, damn it, I did not found Garden State Equality, and thousands of people did not fight Jack Kelly and triumph for Hester to have the governor of New Jersey tell us to go to hell through his nomination of Jack Kelly. Now we fight back. Friends, Jack Kelly is as qualified to be on the state parole board as Donald Trump is to lead the National Organization for Women, or as a President Trump would be in appointing Chris Christie Secretary of Transportation to oversee the nation's bridges. Now, I believe in second chances. We are a great nation. Here's what some of you don't know. Other freeholders in Ocean County looked within their hearts, and over the years, they apologized to me. They have seen the documentary Freeholder. They have seen society progress and embrace LGBT people. Who didn't apologize? Jack Kelly. Everyone deserves a second chance, but he had 10 years to tell us he was sorry. And now the second chance is ours to tell Jack Kelly no once again. How much is Jack Kelly going to humiliate himself and the people of New Jersey before he withdraws his name? How much? Because the alternative is going to be a Senate Judiciary Committee that votes him down, and again, a governor who will suffer another loss. The time really has come to say enough. Jack Kelly does not have the character to be released on early parole if he had to decide on himself as a member of the parole board. The man is a disgrace. He is a blot on New Jersey. And to say he is unqualified is an understatement. It is time for New Jersey to put the final coda on our triumph for Laurel Hester. And it is time for Jack Kelly to put the final coda on his career of public service and become a private citizen where he can spew his bile and hatred at no one but himself when he looks in the mirror. Thank you.
And now Stephen's partner in ultimately getting the other members of the board. Don't forget, Jack Kelly didn't even vote at all. He skipped the final vote. Joan Herving. Joan?
Thank you. 10 years ago, New Jersey took the first baby step towards equality for LGBT people. Freeholder Kelly demonstrated his inability to put his personal prejudices aside, along with his apparent lack of understanding about the separation of church and state, and remained deaf to the pleading of hundreds of his constituents, LGBT and straight, on behalf of Lieutenant Laurel Hester. She was a 25-year veteran of the police force, suffering from terminal cancer, and all she wanted was what was due her by law, pension benefits for her domestic partner. Instead of abiding by the new law, he fell back on the even then stale canard of the sanctity of marriage and refused to grant her benefits. His utter lack of empathy for Lieutenant Hester during that tragic episode of our state's history did have one good effect. It demonstrated what poor government looks like and inspired county after county to grant domestic partnership benefits to their employees. It took tremendous public and political pressure to sway the opinions of the rest of the freeholders to do the right thing for Laurel Hester. But when push came to shove, Kelly didn't even show up for the vote. His intolerance and bigotry have been memorialized in not one but two major motion pictures. They each highlighted him specifically as the personification of the small-minded obduracy that has historically impeded the progress of society. The criminal justice system in this country is in dire need of progressive reform. New Jersey will not benefit from the input of a notoriously bigoted, small-minded, unqualified individual who cannot see past his own prejudices to render fair judgment. Freeholder Kelly was on the wrong side of history 10 years ago, and he will be on the wrong side of the future 10 years from now. Please don't allow him to be put in a position where his opinion will again hold people's lives in the balance.
And now Dane Miller, Laurel's partner, who not only stood up for her, but rallied his fellow officers to her side and their cause for justice. Dane?
Some of you may have noticed that it still brings a tear to my eye to hear Laurel's voice earlier. We began working as partners in the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office around 1981, I think it was, and we spent many, literally thousands of hours together in the backs of surveillance vans and police cars and what have you. So this is, I'll apologize in advance if I get emotional. As the subject of both an Academy Award-winning documentary and a star-studded Hollywood movie, it was among the most stunning stories of inhumanity in 21st century America. In 2005, the Ocean County Board of Chosen Freeholders stood unflinchingly united in their stone-cold-hearted opposition to a dying woman's repeated pleas for justice. That woman, literally gasping for her last breaths every step of the way in her struggle for equality, was Lieutenant Hester of the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, who had faithfully served New Jersey citizens as a police officer for a quarter of a century. Facing certain death as a result of her terminal illness, Lieutenant Hester's last request of the freeholders was simply to be treated equally by allowing her to assign her death benefits to her legal domestic partner, as would automatically be the case with every single married heterosexual public employee in New Jersey. Despite the law at that time that permitted her request, the county's lawmakers saw fit to stand firm in discriminating against Lieutenant Hester based on her sexual orientation. In his moral condescension, Freeholder Jack Kelly argued that granting equality to Laurel would violate the sanctity of marriage. But Hester would ultimately prevail in her heart-wrenching quest for equal dignity. Four of the five freeholders, guided by compassion and conscience, eventually recognized they were on the wrong side of history and courageously reversed their stance in a hastily called special board meeting just weeks before Laurel's death. The lone holdout was Freeholder Kelly, who in an almost equally stunning display of cowardice refused to attend that final meeting to defend his shallow-minded moral principles. Quite frankly, I don't have much use for anyone, let alone a public official, who uses their religion to justify harming another human being. Whether it's radical Islam or extremist Christianity, this sort of frequently hypocritical self-righteousness has no place in our government. So why on earth would Governor Christie nominate a man with such a disgraceful record of bigotry for a seat on the New Jersey Parole Board? A position that demands at least some minimal degree of compassion in judging others. According to recent reports, Governor Christie and Senate President Sweeney have both agreed that Freeholder Kelly has the character and qualifications to serve on the parole board. To reward Kelly with a six-figure pension-padding political plum after the way he has so intolerantly treated others is simply beyond the pale, even by New Jersey standards. It's a blot on Laurel Hester's legacy of equal justice for all, and a slap in the face to every single decent human being in the state of New Jersey, and we shouldn't stand for it.
Thank you. Dane, luckily Governor Christie doesn't have the final say on this. We who sit on as members of the Judiciary Committee do, and I assure you we will all say no to Jack Kelly. And now Linda Dorio Hester, Laurel's sister, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, thank you all for being here. I want to thank Senator Lesniak and Senator Weinberg for all the work that they do in their support. Lieutenant Laurel Hester was my hero. She was my sister. Her story has been documented, it's been mentioned here many times, perhaps many of you know it, but if you don't, please try and take a chance to take a look at the films. You'll learn a lot more about what happened in real life. She became a reluctant activist. She had to fight for what others would simply be given in her circumstances at the time because she was gay. All our lives, Laurel cared about fairness, integrity, and helping others. For 23 years, her law enforcement career was demanding and at times dangerous. She rose through the ranks when it was not easy for a woman to do it at that time. When she was diagnosed with cancer and had to fight the battle of her life, it was made more difficult as she had to fight with the freeholders of Ocean County to have her pension given to her domestic partner. to see my sister go through this living hell because of Freeholder Kelly was torture for all who know and loved and respected her. When my sister was in the last year of her life, she ran up against discrimination to obtain her pension. For months, the Freeholder Board would not grant this request. She tried by letter, she tried by going to public meetings, by asking her PBA representative to join her. She went through proper channels. She was told no for many reasons. But then when Freeholder Kelly was asked by a reporter why, he said her relationship violated the sanctity of marriage. He turned his back on Laurel, and he never looked back. In the months that followed the continuing outcry and support, Laurel made a videotape that she could not physically be present at the meeting and make her request. And she asked all the members of the Freeholder Board to make a change for the good and for righteousness. The board finally changed their position within days of her death to grant this request. Even though she was dying in a wheelchair, barely able to speak, she insisted on going to the meeting to thank the freeholders for their decision. She told them that they were demonstrating democracy in action. The one telling fact of that day, Freeholder Kelly chose not to be there. Once again, he turned his back on her. From that point on, I have never seen or heard anything that showed that he regretted his decision to put a law enforcement officer through such torture. A parole board member must make important, critical decisions about a complex system, managing and overseeing people, programs, staffs, reports, and ultimately deciding the release of all types of offenders into society that will affect thousands of lives and the safety of all our communities here in New Jersey. I believe it should require a candidate to have experience in advanced education and training in law enforcement, social work, and perhaps most of all, a person who has integrity and leadership to serve everyone fairly and without prejudice in our state. Freeholder Kelly does not have these qualifications. I am here today as a citizen of New Jersey to object to the appointment of Freeholder Kelly to the parole board. Thank you.
And thank you for again reminding us that one thing we know for sure, Jack Kelly is a coward. And now Christian Facino, the current Executive Director of Garden State Equality.
I just wanted to thank Senator Lesniak and Senator Weinberg for leading the way on this issue. I also want to recognize Bab Sipperstein, who came today, and thank the speakers, Joan, Dane, Linda, for sharing their voices and stories with us today. As a young leader, I recognize the shoulders of greatness that I stand upon. I recognize the sacrifices that these individuals have made, and I think that it's pretty crappy that a ghost from our past has come back to haunt us. As if the people standing behind me and beside me had not sacrificed enough. Here today, as the leader of Garden State Equality, we need to have this fight again. I often think, who are young people to arrive at a table empty-handed, prepared for us by previous generations? Well, I'm here today to let you know that we are not empty-handed. We are ready to fight. We are ready to speak out against injustice in our system. We cannot allow a man with personal biases to serve on the state parole board. LGBT people already face injustice in our criminal justice system. There's isolation cases where transgender people are put away for months at a time. We cannot allow someone who's anti-LGBT to be deciding the fate of LGBT people in our justice system. In the documentaries and I guess in real life, Stephen down in Ocean County said, "You have the power." All right? Kept on repeating, "You have the power. You have the power." But today, we have the power. We have the power. We have the power to make sure that Jack Kelly does not serve on the state parole board. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian and Loretta. As I know, if it weren't for Stephen and Joan and the supporters that they brought, Laurel's pension rights would still be stuck there, not ever been received by Stacy. Before we take some questions, since we do know that Jack Kelly will not be serving on the parole board, and please, Governor Christie, don't withdraw. I don't want the governor to withdraw his name. I want him to vote him down. I want to see every Democrat and Republican on that board vote no. I just want to take the opportunity before you have some questions, because Jack Kelly will be running for re-election, since he won't be serving on the parole board. I want to introduce candidates running. Two of these candidates will be running against them. The candidates for Ocean County Freeholder on the Democratic organization line, Michael Cook and Ed Wolf. Okay, Michael Cook and Ed Wolf. Okay, and also Democratic candidates for Ocean County Freeholder, Tracy Caprioni and Scott Newman. All right. Thank you for coming here, and two of you will be on the Ocean County Board of Freeholders after November, and Jack Kelly will not. Not if we have anything to do with it. And we do. Questions? Yes, Charlie.
That's Steve's point that Jack Kelly never came back in over the years, subsequent years, and showed any kind of evolution in his thinking or any contrition. So that, I took your comments to mean he's beyond the point of redemption. There's nothing he could say at this point that could, win you guys over. So why even have this hearing? Why not ask Senate President Sweeney to not hold this hearing and block and withdraw or block the nomination?
As Senator Weinberg said, it's important to have a vote. It's important to stare him down, to have the final say, and to see every Democrat and Republican say no to Jack Kelly. That's more important in our opinion. That will be the final chapter for Jack Kelly. And then these guys will beat him in November.
Is there any chance that you do hold the vote and that the Freeholder Kelly gets approved? Have you done any vote counting or anything like that with the callers?
I'm pretty good at vote counting, and my gut tells me no way will Jack Kelly be released from the Judiciary Committee. No way.
This package of nominees was obviously negotiated with the governor's office, bipartisan balance with Senate President Sweeney and the governor's office. Doesn't Senate President bear some responsibility in agreeing to allow this nomination to go forward in the first place?
Well, first of all, the nominations have not yet been presented to the Judiciary Committee. They are not on our agenda. So there hasn't been an agreement.
But they did submit them up with an understanding.
Well, the governor submitted nominees. I read to you also before you came in, Charlie, the person that Jack Kelly is replacing, who has 3 master's degrees, including one in criminal justice and one in social work. So we will find out what the next chapter is. We are asking that this nomination go forward, and we want every member of the Judiciary Committee on both sides of the aisle to stand up and be counted. We have to continue speaking out against this kind of bigotry wherever, whenever, and however it occurs. And I want the opportunity to let our colleagues stand up alongside us.
Do you have any concern that if the Wayne Kelly is blocked, that this could jeopardize other nominations that you're supportive of?
That's irrelevant and immaterial. We are not going to sacrifice any possibility of getting a chance to vote down Jack Kelly for the parole board nomination. None. You have my word.
Actually, my
Get
question...
off from the press.
Well, actually, my question, I I would like to be directed at Governor Christie when you get a chance. I mean, too many times I see politics.
I get it. I'm sorry you guys are candidates. You're going to have to talk to the press.
Oh, I got to talk to the press of that.
Okay, yeah.
Senator Weinberg, I think the holdover you're referring to is Republican. Is that correct?
He is a Republican, yes.
Is that
This has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican politics. This has to do with common decency. Jack Kelly has none. And Governor Christie should be held accountable for it.
You know, I was the prime sponsor of the domestic partnership bill. I think it was Joan who referred to it as a baby step, and indeed it was. It was the first baby step that we had to take to get to civil unions, to have the courts, because of this governor, make sure that marriage equality was the law in the state of New Jersey. But it didn't mean that we, along with Ray, Stephen and all the advocates that are up here, we didn't take every single step that was in front of us, because it was important to help change people's minds and hearts. And that's where we are today.
And it would be too easy to withdraw his name. Yes, Charlie.
Finally.
No more Christie questions. No. No more Sweeney questions. Only kidding.
Back then, it seems like an eternity now, it was 10 years ago, it was as unpopular and, as you said, bigoted view that Jack Kelly held back then about traditional marriage. I mean, at that time, even the president was on board in support of traditional marriage. Hillary Clinton at one point had not yet converted into a
But with that,
I guess my point is...
I understand your point, Charlie, but we're not talking about marriage equality. We're talking about pension rights that were earned.
The point here is that his views on traditional marriage, the sanctity of marriage seems to be the hot touchstone.
And I think it was articulated very well.
Right.
That's not a criteria for deciding whether a domestic partnership should get it.
All right, well, I just want to finish my point. I guess my question is, they evolved, and it seems that you have precluded the possibility that Jack Kelly hasn't, quote-unquote, involved, because he hasn't given you a phone call in the interim years.
In 10 years, and we're not going to accept that now, when his ass is on the line, that all of a sudden he picks up a phone? No, that's not good enough.
He didn't have to give us a phone call.
That's right.
He had to apologize to the people he represents, and certainly to Laurel Hester's family. You know, any of us, and I'm sure there are people in this room who have had both the privilege and the trouble of being with somebody who has a terminal illness. And the last months are always precious. And the thought that he made this woman go through the kind of torture that she went through in the last months of her life, rather than to be able to stay home with her family and with the people who loved her, that's what's wrong here. That's what's wrong, and he's never in 10 years tried to right it.
And Senator and Charlie, the other thing is, unfortunately, this is the way politics is still played in this age, and that's why I've called Jack Kelly the poster boy for what's wrong with politics in New Jersey. It's also the fact that he's totally unqualified for the position. And that's the position I took way back in December before the light bulb went on. Is that it? Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate your attendance.
And I'm here with Ocean County Freeholder candidates Michael Cook and Ed Wolf. We just finished up at the press conference regarding Jack Kelly. Mr. Wolf and Mr. Cook, what is your message to Jack Kelly after what we just heard?
Well, I don't have really anything to say to Mr. Kelly and Freeholder Kelly himself, but I do know we've got quite an effort to get him his nomination overturned, and certainly we'd be happy to escort him out of public office at the election coming up in November. What we are trying to do in addition to that is put out a more positive and proactive policy and messaging about things that can be done just to make Ocean County more accepting and helpful to the LGBT community. We couldn't hardly do any less than they're doing right now, but we're going to come up with some new policies and definitely look at some things to have more positive effort towards that. But I think the Jack Kelly situation, to the extent we can do anything to usher him out of public life, we're there for it, but I think that seems like it's in the midst of being taken care of all by itself and by his own shortcomings.
And my message to Mr. Kelly is simple. He has been a lousy public servant. He seems to be only interested in how the public can serve him, not how he can serve the public. And as such, it's time for him to retire completely. Our idea is to beat him this year. First off, our first idea is he should not have put up for nomination to start with, based on his history. As you heard in the press conference, he's clearly bigoted. That type of person doesn't have a place on the parole board. And if you look at his public career, it's nothing short of finding things for him and his family to do to earn more money and get more pension. And our object is to make sure that stops this year.
All right, I'm here with the other set of Ocean County freeholder candidates, Tracy Caprioni and Scott Newman. And Mr. Caprioni and Mr. Newman, I'd like to get your reaction to what we just saw here in the State House about Freeholder Director Jack Kelly.
Well, it was an excellent meeting. The press conference went well with Senator Lesniak and Senator Weinberg. They absolutely brought up all the points of why Jack Kelly should never get within a million miles of the parole board here in the state of New Jersey. He has no qualifications. He is somebody that is against gay marriage, and why we want this person anywhere near deciding the fate of loved ones that are coming out of prison is beyond me.
Basically, this is just another classic style that's plagued not only the state of New Jersey, but the United States in general. Putting politics above people. Taking out the kingdom of conscience instead of directing a civic responsibility. What I like to know is very plain and simple. Everyone's attacking Mr. Kelly. I would like to ask Governor Christie one question. Knowing that Mr. Kelly has no qualifications that are dictated in writing to be on the state parole board, one question. Then why are you nominating him? Not once, but twice. I think it's a question that should be answered and given to the good people of Ocean County and the state of New Jersey. Again, stop putting politics above the conscience of goodwill and people.
All right, thank you.